Okay, it is past 4:30, and so we will call this meeting of Dunn County's Judiciary and Law Committee to order. Present, we have Supervisor Bauer, Supervisor Wilsey, and on the Zoom, we have Supervisor Gilbert. Supervisor Vandermeulen is absent, but we have a quorum. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting on April 24th. Can I get a motion to approve? Supervisor Wilsey moves.
Second.
Supervisor Bauer seconds. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
All right. The minutes are approved. Do we have any public comments that anyone knows of?
There are no comments.
Thank you. And now on to the staff reports. First is emergency management. And did anyone have any questions? You have anything you'd like to add?
The only thing that I wanted to add at this time is the emergency management coordinator, Russ Bauer, who has been with us for a couple months, tendered his resignation. So he'll be leaving us in 2 weeks. So I'll be working with HR to fill that position, but just did want to let you know that he did resign. He accepted a full-time position with the state of Wisconsin Emergency Management.
Supervisor Bauer?
Yeah, I just have a question on the Chippewa River. I mean, it's all been washed out, right? I mean, this has been going on for years and years, and now they want to do something about it because it's getting too close to property, or is it just because the DNR says you can't touch the river, and then our sports owners club has been trying to rip wrap, and they said, no, you can't do that. Just let's leave it natural. So.
Yeah, so the home that I talked about in my report, yeah, they did contact us about 3 weeks ago and advised that due to the high river this year, especially, and it was mostly, I guess, occurred around the Easter weekend, kind of when they had opened some dams upstream and had kind of, increased the flow coming through our area, that the shoreline by their property has, suffered more erosion than under normal circumstances, or, what they have noticed in the last 10 years with the spring thaw. So there is some concern, not necessarily today, but there is some concern that if that does continue to erode, or we have another high river situation, either flash flooding or a spring thaw, is that, could continue to slide into the river. And at some point, we have either a sewer system or a residence that could be in danger of, ending up in the Chippewa River. So in 2013, we had a similar situation. Their neighbor, matter of fact, that had the same situation, and their property was much closer than this one is to, being in danger. And we did work with the Army Corps of Engineer and some other agencies, and the state did fund a fix for that residence. And Dunn County was just the facilitator. We filled out the paperwork. We did the grant for them. We kind of supervised the project on behalf of the state. But yeah, we did fix that bank erosion for their neighbor. And now fast forward 10 years, and now the neighbor is having trouble. I have not done the research on the zoning and the things that took place when those properties were built. But it is interesting when you look at the aerial footage, that it's just right in front of those homes that those banks are sliding. So yeah, because there was a natural disaster declaration by Governor Evers during the flooding. We'll be able to kind of approach it through that funding. Doesn't necessarily mean that we will be accepted, but we can definitely kind of keep moving forward based on that declaration. You know, if for some reason we're not able to, the funding's not there through this declaration, you know, if there is another disaster declaration in Wisconsin, we can always try again. Like I said, it's not in imminent danger today, but it's definitely something that we need to look at. And I know the property that we did in 2013, you know, that was, you know, probably at least a year and a half, if not 2-year process by the time we, you know, started, got the paperwork, and then the whole project was complete. So. But it's definitely something we do work with the state of Wisconsin Mitigation Department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Up next is medical examiner. Marcy, have anything to add?
Good evening. Just that I will be presenting the medical examiner annual report in June, and I'm wondering if there's any topics other than our typical breakdown of the deaths numbers and causes that I usually provide for the county board. If there's any other topics that would be important for the board to hear from our office.
I think it's always a little jarring to me when I read about how understaffed you are and how much time and the part-time and the people on call all the time. And I think maybe just as to put that in there as a reminder to them about how much work you're doing with here in Eau Claire might be helpful. And what else? I also found very interesting, and maybe this will be in there, but the numbers of about the unclaimed bodies, because I didn't know what that term meant. Maybe an explanation of that's also kind of illuminating and wakes people up. So those are a couple of suggestions.
We're working on 3 unclaimed bodies right now, today and through the weekend and Friday. And it's amazing to me how many we start out working on, how much work and hours are put into each one, and the research finding family members that people have been estranged with. And a larger number of times we find somebody who's at least willing to sign. Sometimes the county has to pay for final disposition. Dunn County just had to pay for their first one in years. But our office does an incredible amount of work to help to track down family members and try and get signatures, so it doesn't have to go through the district attorney's office and through the county's finance, and figuring out whether they qualify for state funding to pay for this. But we're pretty successful, along with law enforcement's help too, in tracking down family members. But it is alarming how many families are willing to just walk away as well. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I remember mentioning it to the executive committee and in the reports we give them, and they had questions. So might be something the board might like to talk about a little too.
Sure. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. Anybody else have any suggestions? All right. Oh, I have a question. I know that in Katie's report, she mentioned it too, and just curious, what's the fierce conversations thing you did?
Oh, and I think Chris explained our last meeting.
Oh, you did?
Really well about,
Okay.
really well about fierce conversations.
Oh, I wasn't here.
As anybody in supervision was encouraged to go to fierce conversations, and it was a talk put on by the organization about us as supervisors being able to have those tough conversations, being approachable, and it was about an 8-hour training.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. That's why I should come to the meeting tomorrow then. Thank you. Up next, Sheriff's Department. Sheriff, do you have anything to add to your report?
A couple things to add. We had 2 new deputies started today We've got another one starting June 4th or 5th. She's just wrapping up recruit school right now, so she'll be starting shortly. So starting to fill 5 of those vacancies that we have in patrol. Jail staff sitting pretty well. I opened the recruitment for the vacant sergeant position with letters of interest due to me by June 2nd. For this last position that's open in the jail. So we'll be doing a promotion, and then we'll have to hire one to replace whoever I decide to promote at that time. But we did have a squad totaled as a result of a pursuit. The suspect sideswiped one of our squads, one of our older squads, thank goodness, and pretty much peeled the entire passenger side down. So the insurance company totaled it. I don't know what insurance is going to cover. That changed a few years ago. We used to have total replacement costs on those, but it may be a $1,000 deductible and maybe a $5,000 deductible, and it may only cost or cover the cost of value of 2016 F-150 with 140,000 miles on it. So obviously we got to buy a squad to replace that. So just a heads up, I may be coming back to this committee for a request for contingency funds. That's obviously an unexpected, unbudgeted line item, but more to be determined on that to see what insurance is going to cover. It may be in one of those cases that full replacement value is given, but there's a lot of expenses to set up the new squad above and beyond the cost of the vehicle. Northtown Ford does have a squad or a new truck sitting there that we're working on maybe buying from them. It doesn't set up exactly the way we purchase them, but it's close enough to make it work for us. Otherwise, we're 3 to 6 months out on waiting for a truck to show up to replace this one. So hopefully we can make that one that's sitting at Northtown work for us. Our office coordinator, I failed to mention in my written report, office coordinator resigned to relocate with her husband, took a new job in Kansas. So our office coordinator resigned, and her last day was on Friday. So she's been replaced by an internal candidate, Marie. Marty has replaced Patty Keeney. And so now we're in a hiring process to replace Marie Marty at our front office. So I think the last thing I have next meeting, I believe I'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan National Sheriff's Conference. I was awarded a scholarship through Badger State Sheriffs, their state organization, to attend the National Sheriff's Conference, and they're beneficial to attend. And as long as I can drive to them, I don't mind going, but the headache of trying to park your vehicle at an airport and all that happy jazz this one's close enough. It's about an 8-hour drive for us, so I'll probably be gone, but I'll try and have either my chief deputy or one of my captains here in my place next meeting. But I think that's the only updates I have for now.
Thank you. Supervisor Bauer?
I'd like to compliment you by helping out St. Croix County. I mean, I know you guys all work together, and if it happens here, they'll do the same, but thanks for doing that for representing Dunn County.
And that's the benefit of being, part of Badger State Sheriffs, is no sheriff stands alone. If a sheriff calls and you send help, no questions asked. Police departments don't necessarily have that option. The chief's got to call the mayor's got to call the city administrator, and when a sheriff calls another sheriff and says, I need help, you send help. And so I had deputies there within minutes of that officer being shot, and got involved in the manhunt for the suspect, and so stuff on my staff that I still struggle. I was in Decorah, Iowa with my daughter with plans of moving some stuff out of her dorm room the next morning, when I got a call from Sheriff Knutson asking for help, and I wasn't here in the county to be there for him, but he got several other surrounding sheriffs to get there that night and help him out, and my staff was there. So my captain went over and was at the command post and helped with scheduling for, you know, the next week of coverage on for their patrol and things like that. So I appreciate it.
Supervisor Wiltie.
Thank you. On Wednesday at the board meeting, we passed side by sides, ATVs on county roads. And I was in favor of it, but I did have a person in my district ask if their road's closed and people are driving on their closed road, what recourse do they have?
Driving ATV or UTV on the,
So that, yeah, they're going from off a county road onto a township road that's not.
it's not open to public.
Yep.
Okay, so then, yeah, we should be notified for an area watch on that so we can keep an eye out for those. They could be cited for operating a UTV on closed road or illegal road operation of a UTV or ATV. So we can take enforcement action on that. This is gonna be a challenge, you know, a little bit of challenge until the kind of everybody's figures out what's going on, but many counties have done it around us and especially up north, and I think it'll be fine. It'll just be some growing pains, but there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna have to start cracking down on, you know. I live in Boyceville and I see ATVs and UTVs going down Highway 79 way past the designated route. And some of that stuff's gonna have to start being cracked down on until people figure out to stay within the route. It's a privilege, you know, not a right. And so, no, they just need to let us know if it continues to be a problem and we'll try and take some enforcement action on it.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anything else for the sheriff? All right, thank you. Up next is the courts, and Katie is not here today. But you can see her report there, and I'm sure if you have any questions, she'd be happy to answer them. And now we will move on to CJCC. Sarah, anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add, thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions? No, looks like we're good. Okay, and I know the district attorney is on Zoom. And her report is next. Anybody have anything for Andrea? Looks like there's nothing, Andrea. You have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is just some good news. Hopefully it passes all the through the full legislature, but Joint Finance did pass pay progression for assistant district attorneys as well as district attorneys unanimously. And actually it was a little bit higher than even we were requesting. So it would be a very substantial raise for prosecutors. So I'm hopeful that that will go through. So that increase would start for assistants, I believe, in July if passed, and in 2025 for any elected position.
That's great news. Good to hear.
Yeah,
How's your back?
it's good. Thank you. And thank you to the county and the legislative committee for your help with getting that passed.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to child support. Josie, did you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any questions for child support? Supervisor Wiltie?
I just want to say that your report and the judges and county clerk was awesome. So good job.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the minutes today too. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. There is an item for discussion that we talked about in the interim between the last meeting and this one. We were talking about it on email, Katie and the sheriff and I, and someone left a comment under the last YouTube video. It was posted on YouTube, as people can do. And it was, obviously there was some axe to grind behind it. It was about a topic that wasn't even discussed at the meeting, I don't believe. And so we're talking about if we wanted to respond to it and what can be done further. And the sheriff had some comments about just the posting of those videos in perpetuity on the internet, and the kind of weighing the pros and cons of it, and is that something that this committee wants to do going forward? And if you could tell us a little bit about your concern, Sheriff, we appreciate it.
Sure, I have no issue with being transparent with the general public and the people we serve, but I don't see the purpose of putting out there, for years and years to watch and go back and pick things apart with the scrutiny on law enforcement and things. People are just looking for something to go after the sheriff and law enforcement for, or any county officer or department as far as that goes. And you can't, legal opinion is you can't or shouldn't delete comments on your Facebook or any social media, things like that. So it kind of gives people some authority to comment and be out there for other people to stir people up. This kind of started during COVID. I have, no issue if people are present to have a discussion about certain things. I want especially this committee that I answer to be informed, but sometimes I'm pretty reserved about what I say because I know it's going out there for the world to watch and pick apart. And I think the committee would be more or better informed if we had felt a little more open dialogue. If you want to come and attend a public meeting, they're free to come and be open public meetings for a reason, but to have them posted on YouTube for years to come and people lay in their beds at 3 o'clock in the morning and watching and comment about, something that may or may not have even been addressed in a meeting, I think just opens us up for more scrutiny. Melissa had an issue a few years ago where, somebody took it upon themselves to go back and kind of targeted her about a topic that was a hot topic for them. Never once, to my knowledge, ever appeared at a public meeting or public comments or anything, but kind of went after Melissa about this topic of interest to them because they, sat and watched these public meetings on YouTube. And like I say, I have no issue with transparency, but it's also going to probably limit on some of the things that are, shared with this committee. And I believe there would be more of an open dialogue if they weren't, broadcast for years to come.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's worth thinking about. Do any of the other department heads feel hesitant to? Because I know with this committee in particular, there's a lot of sensitive topics in the courts and the sheriff's office and jails and things that are still pending and whatnot. But does anybody else feel that they have a tendency or maybe a thought of not being as open or withholding some things that you might otherwise if it wasn't going to be up on the internet forever? And or do you have any thoughts about what the sheriff said? And you guys too, as well, obviously.
Excuse me, what's our current policy as far as that, the YouTube, is it there forever? I mean, can you guys hear me? I don't know.
We can hear you. I don't, yes. It's currently put on YouTube indefinitely.
Okay, so these meetings we have here are,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that would seem to leave people with nothing better to do, time to sit and piece together commentary on any subject forever.
Right. That's my concern.
Yeah, I'm not sure. seems like there could be a time limit or maybe at least not allow them to comment.
Yeah, and as far as the logistics of shutting down comments for one committee and not another, I'm not sure how feasible that is. And I would have to look into that more. I do know that we are not mandated to post any of the videos for any of the committees or boards. I know some counties do not. And I sent I have an email out to to Nick Lang, the Corporation Counsel, about if it's under the purview of each committee to decide that, and I can't see why it wouldn't be. And so I think something would have to be written up, I think, perhaps, to say that we didn't want to do that if we didn't want to do it. And so,
Well, yeah, given the material that we handle just due to the nature of judiciary and law, it would seem like if an exemption was necessary, it could be made, but if it's not even that, yeah, I would seem like one committee that wouldn't need to have it all out there all the time.
Supervisor.
Yeah, thank you. I think it should be open for discussion. I think it's something that we should look into. Whether we make it now or wait for next response, I guess that's the best thing to do first, see what he comes up with. A lot of the other committees that I don't go to, I'm in this one, so it's good, but I go back and look at them and keep up to date on what the other committees are doing. We could probably just post them internally only or something, you know, I don't know. But once it's out there, it's out there. It seems like you can't get it back. So I don't know if you even want to do that,
Right.
but like I said, it's good. We should discuss and come up with an idea.
Yeah, because even if it's deleted, it still could be out there somewhere, obviously, but I agree with that too. I do go back and look at other committees or meetings that I miss. Anything to add?
I'm just disappointed that I'm front and center. I only got 9 views.
That's right. Know how many subscribers we have to just this committee. All right, well, I will wait for Mr. Lang's response, and if it's something that we need to have as a resolution or just we can think on it, I think, for a month, and then when Supervisor Vandermeulen is back too, maybe we can all take a vote on it, and if it's okay for us to do.
The judges, nothing. No,
Our public records are public records.
no matter what, yeah.
So, I mean, there's really no place to comment, but they could go on nominee seats or what's happening in the round of nominee, which I know people have posted things that they're on. And they can do that. You know, the public records are public records.
Yeah.
But destroyed, you know,
Yeah, and you don't find yourself withholding anything because of that. It's just how it is, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's bring it back up next month. Let's see if we have more info, and we'll take it from there. Does that sound good with everybody? All right. Okay. And I think that is about it, unless anyone has anything to add. There are no reports, resolutions, or ordinances this month. Any announcements? Nothing to announce? All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we are adjourned.